Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. It's Thursday, July 16th, 2026, episode 548, and we're going to talk about fake justice. Uh, Basically, on my newsfeed, a couple of people that former students, they were posting memes about Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell, and they were really funny, which kind of tells me that they were not made by Democrats, right? Because Democrats are just really horrible at humor. They have no humor because they have to, humor requires a bit of intelligence, and many of them just simply have decided to leave that part of the brain unused. But what bothered me was that when Biden was clearly no longer running the country, these same people were silent. But now that Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are probably dead or MIA, whatever, the Democrats are having, those same people are having a blast posting all of these memes. And I wonder, were they vocal as vocal with Dianne Feinstein or Fetterman? Where were they with all of the wars? They were okay with Gaza, which seems to be an exception, especially because Obama made wars kind of chic, I guess. And then with all the corruption that's going on in the Trump administration and his mental problems, they're going to point that out, maybe. But then where were they with Hunter Biden? Joe Biden and all of the doubles supposedly, but how could he grow a couple inches and then shrink a couple inches? It's just kind of really bizarre towards the end of the Biden administration, what was really going on there. I don't even know. And then flip it, the Republicans now doing the dance of pretending their congressional member is not dead or ill or no longer able to do their job. But they had a lot to say about Biden and Feinstein. And so on both sides, you see the blatant hypocrisy. And since hypocrisy is the root of all injustice, we're watching people take digs at each other for the sake of injustice or to perpetuate injustice. It's all kind of obscene, really, because we're paying for all of it. So this kind of hypocrisy is discrimination at one's convenience. Uh, when it serves your interests, you're going to do it. And when it works against your interests, you're not going to mention it. And that's the hypocrisy. And in order to be able to get away with it, in order to live with yourself while engaging in this kind of blatant hypocrisy, you have to be superficial. You have to be you have to be a shallow person. So you see this hypocrisy with BLM, Antifa, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza. The list is huge, right? So uh, going after opponents or the character assassination arises along the lines of the headlines, right? Who are the bad people? Whoever opposes the latest thing. And if it's trendy enough, then you get to be criminalized in the process as well. You ever wonder all of these laws and rules that are passed with these fad, trendy uh, trends in society? They don't go away. You don't see any rules getting repealed after, these movements are no longer in fashion. So they're still in the books. And we have to always, in other words, there are more mines in life, more bombs that we could step on because of some past legislation that everyone has forgotten about, but can be resurrected to be used against you. Anyone who helps you to achieve your ideological goal is close to you, and you're going to champion them and say, look how this hero. And the news cycle is so fast, it rotates through these different stories so quickly that no one remembers just how awful they are, right? So you see like BLM, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter. Then all of a sudden it comes out that the leaders of Black Lives Matter spent 90% of all the money they raised on themselves buying houses and whatnot. And then all of a sudden it's over. No one talks about it anymore. It's insane how that happens. But this whole phenomena is a dynamic of ignorance, right? Integrity means nothing, right? People talk about integrity, but it means nothing. Uh, there's no value in being honest, like, or at least society doesn't see any value. The media doesn't put any stock in it. And so most people no longer think in terms of integrity. And so that's why they can be a bunch of hypocrites, everyone. But people get to, by engaging in this level of hypocrisy, you get to feel good. You get to pretend to be for justice, right? For fake justice. When I was younger, when a lot younger, I wanted to write about justice. In fact, my master's thesis was about social justice because I thought it sounded good. It must be a really good thing. And I did research and it was like, wait a minute, I thought that this was supposed to be justice for everybody, but no, only justice for the good people. And depending on who you're going to define as good, well, that changes depending on subjectivity. And that's why I kind of started getting jaded over the whole idea of social justice. But I didn't cop out and participate in the hypocrisy. I just put it in the air and said, you got to keep looking. And surprisingly, I was able to do that artistically for my master's thesis and for my PhD, if you want to go there. But are people this dumb or lazy? Right? I mean, I didn't cop out. I didn't participate in the hypocrisy because it was wrong. So people who do engage in it, are they dumber than me somehow? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to understand. Uh, but I think it's the attraction of power and that ability to believe that you are righteous. It's just too powerful. That temptation, that draw. For a lot of people, I think it's for a girl or a guy, right? You're really into someone, but you got to agree with them. Otherwise, they won't go out with you. So uh, I think there's a little bit of that as well. But mostly, I think it's the opportunity to feel righteous, morally correct, where you can just get into other people's faces and be so confident that that person is wrong. Some people can get off on that. I think it really is intoxicating. The power to govern and to force conformity or to impose ignorance to enable what you think is global justice, but it really is just global injustice. We get to export our injustice everywhere. The funny thing is that Gaza is, I think, the result of a lot of the injustice we export. I think if you go back in time, you'll see that the ignorance of hypocrisy is what enabled Gaza. And so all those people who are protesting and so upset about Gaza, and I think rightfully so, was enabled by mistakes that were made in the past. But what good is all of that power, all those feels, if it's only temporary, right? At the most, it'll last, what, 10 years, maybe? But for the most part, it's a lot shorter than that, maybe a year. And once everything is revealed and people learn just how evil the stuff that you did and condoned and ignored, when people find out about that stuff, any good that you wanted to achieve is ruined, right? All of the supposed good stuff that you did is ruined. I don't know. That bothers me that like I wouldn't want to be in that position. Maybe people hope that by the time people find out, they would have moved on, and so it's not that big of a deal. Or maybe you will have a lot of media on your side to cover up and, hide all of the evil that just took place. But for me, as I watch it unfold as it's happening, it's extremely disgusting. It's vile. And I guess as much as people who engage in this kind of civil outrage, uh, as much as they seem to be entertained by it, I'm disgusted by it. And the problem is that I agree with them sometimes. And then I'll post things and people will say, "Oh yeah, more power to us." But then when I criticize the other side, then all of those people just become enemies, and repeat, right? The cycle just keeps going, and it's really sad. Um, and my disgust grows because of this phenomena of taking turns being hypocrites. It provides opportunity for the most evil among us to do more of the same, right? So it's like that, what I was talking about before, the enabling, the setting the table that enables people to uh, increase the amount of injustice that they do, and actually provides opportunity for people who want to do injustice to actually be able to do it. And so it's kind of disgusting. And so the actual wounds, right, the actual pain and suffering of the world is all of this, right? A lot of the pain and suffering that the world sees right now is because of this. I mean, look at the Strait of Hormuz as well. It's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed, it's open, it's closed. It's so absurd. And to imagine that there are people in government who see that this is ridiculous, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, it's criminal, um, and then do nothing. It just, and that there's no recourse, that you have the entire Congress sitting there on their hands saying, well, I guess that's what has to be done. It's just so disgusting. And for people in the country to see, or maybe not see, all of the starvation that is increasing, the potential for starvation that is increasing exponentially as time moves forward. I'm just it I'm beside myself. Like, I cannot believe that we are letting this happen. And this is the result of all of this hypocrisy here in this country, a country which I love very much and who I'm very proud of. But then I look at the government and it's so shameful. Like I watched those reels again of Europeans coming to the United States because of the World Cup, and they're entertaining. And I like, part of me is like, yeah, yeah, we're still a good country. Much of America is still in good shape, but we're being governed by the most evil, incompetent, corrupt people imaginable, who don't care how many people starve or die because of bombings. And and this is what we're trying to function in. And there's just such a disconnect between the government and the everyday person. And when you realize that a lot of the pain and suffering that a lot of people are going through now, whether it's uh, you know, becoming a refugee because America decided to bomb your city, to being homeless here in America because of all the crazy interest manipulation and manipulation of stock markets, manipulation of commodities, all of this stuff. So if you think about all of the suffering that's caused by just these evil people in power, uh, you got to vent like I am doing right now. So healing comes through justice, real justice, where you call a spade a spade. And I looked it up. It's not a racist expression, right? I guess because spades are black, people started saying, "Ooh, you're being like I used it a couple times at school, and people started going, "Ooh," and I was like, "What?" Unless I guess a spade at one point in time was used as a euphemism for black people. I don't know. It just I don't get it. But anyway, like call things as they are. Uh, get rid of the hypocrisy and just focus on justice. There's a like I don't know if anyone remembers Live Aid, where I think it's the 80s, where you have all these rock musicians get together to raise money for Africa, and it had a lot of steam behind it. But a lot of people in Africa were like, "What are you doing?" And I saw this. You can look YouTube it. Radiators. So radiators for Europe. And so you got these Africans putting together fundraisers to buy radiators for Europe because they're so cold there, right? So we got to help them. But they don't understand what warmth is anymore. So I guess it was like Norway or Sweden or one of the colder places in Europe. They were like, oh, they need radiators. So what we perceive and think other people need might not actually be what they need. Just give people freedom to be able to seek out the things that they actually need instead of dumping all of our waste on them, just so that we could feel good over here. You know, the hypocrisy is just so rich. And by the way, this is not unlike the obnoxious Christian. So, I it pains me when like because I'm a preacher, and so Christianity is very near and dear to my heart. But then I see obnoxious Christians. Now, granted, I'm not perfect, but I try to keep my flaws to myself. I try not to project nor criticize a whole lot of people. I just let people do whatever they want. They want to fall flat on their face, whatever. And I try not to be prescriptive unless I see something really, really dangerous, like with my kids, like they're about to make a really big mistake. So then I'll intervene, but it's got to be really high probability, imminent danger for me to say something. Um, so obnoxious Christians, though, are pretty much like all of these activists and hypocrites in politics. A lot of superficial thinking. And the superficiality of Christians, of these obnoxious Christians, it's easy to see when you have a different subjectivity, right? And it's more socially acceptable to be anti-Christian because, so many people have different subjectivities. And so I think that's the same problem. And to me, the church is supposed to be about education, to be, more transcendent, to be able to understand a big view, a big picture. But the fact that edification in the church has uh, been eradicated, now we have all of these obnoxious Christians. I'm pointing things out, some observations I made, uh, of things that I've seen, and just how hypocritical all of it is. And I think it will get worse as we drift further and further down the hole of ignorance, the worse it will get. Um, and so we have to come up with strategies to try to get people to out of their box, out of their narrow subjectivity, to unleash whatever potential that they have, and to use all of that energy not for negativity and for destroying value, but use that energy for good, for creating value, to have hope, to instill hope in others, to be happier, to be full of joy instead of angry and destructive. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys next time.